All right, here we go. So I'm with
Metz.
Metz. Let's recap real quick.
It's 4 in the morning.
It's 4 in the morning. Yeah, so we'll get there. We'll get to how this happened. A couple weeks ago.
At this point, like a month ago.
Metz goes to
Anthrocon.
Anthrocon.
It's a furry convention.
And gets COVID. All right, so we can't review the movie then. Then you have to drive to Minnesota to pick your girlfriend up.
Yes.
To take them to Pittsburgh.
For another convention.
That did not get COVID at.
That I just drove here from.
Then just drove your girlfriend back to to Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Then comes here. First off, let me just say, did you ever think of, did either of you ever think of my needs? Like, that I need to shoot a MANIAC review?
Unfortunately, no.
No, of course not. You guys are fucking selfish. So you're driving back and you were like, are you awake? And I'm like, that's not a text I would ever expect to get from you. And it was like, you were near and you were like, let's shoot the MANIAC review. And I was like, all right, fuck it, let's shoot the MANIAC review. So, and then now we have to go into part deux of this, whereas
your French is impeccable.
Yes, well, I'm a regular Pepe Le Pew. So you are at my apartment, about a month ago, an insane person sent me a message on Twitter saying that, and we've discussed this already.
We have.
That I got fired from the theater because I sexually harassed you. And that you were my employee.
Right.
And
at
I'm like,
Water Tower.
At Water Tower.
Supposedly.
But they also contacted the theater, and the theater went, A, that person never worked here, and B, no, he left to do his other shit.
Yeah, other stuff. Yeah, no, I haven't worked for you in 2 years.
3.
3 years. I don't know what
2019.
Yeah, I guess so. End of 2019. Yeah. All right, 3 years.
So I was your employee, or you were my employee. I was your employee.
It's 4 in the morning.
Yeah, it's 4 in the morning. And then you live like 45 minutes away from here anyway. I was like, fine. Good fucking luck, idiot. Sun's gonna be up. But it's just like I don't know what they hope to get out of that.
It's also frustrating.
Have I ever sexually harassed anyone?
That's what I was going to say. You do not sexually harass me. If anything, I sexually harass you. No, but
I'm scared.
Yes,
you're bigger
obviously, than me. I am. That's visible. Even we're sitting down. It's visible.
I know. I'm teeny tiny.
But
I was like, wait a minute, and I'm gonna respond. I'm like getting ready to respond back to this fucking person. I was like, I saved them from being like fucking sex trafficked from a dude who looked like off-brand fucking John Travolta.
He looked exactly like not even off-brand. It was like if someone if an article came out like John Travolta kidnaps people, I would be like, yeah, I was almost one of them. Like he looked exactly.
And I'll tell the full story at some point. This guy kept coming in and being very inappropriate with you when you were underage. And
I was not, but you told him I was.
I told him you were,
care.
And he didn't care, which is even fucking grosser. But I chased that dude out into the parking lot, and then him and his friend were out there, and I was like, it reminded me of the scene in Anchorman where they jump into the bear cage. He's like, I instantly regret my decision. But I guess,
I still tell this story, though. I still appreciate it.
But I guess it's like, because I'm a little fucking troll, like, there would be no reason that women would ever want to be around me. Yeah.
Well, right, yeah, of course not.
Alright, so now that we have that out of the way, now that I've lured you into my sex dungeon.
Yes, your sex dungeon
of that movie poster, Pinhead, and Florida Man on the stove back there.
Yeah, Elvira's your warden.
Well, she's the madam.
She's the madam.
Yeah,
exactly.
She takes care of the business.
Yep. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Maniac.
So fucking Elvira's asleep on your purse.
Yeah, she wants my food box.
So we discussed a movie that I've been wanting to discuss for a while because we did Cannibal Ferox, and I was like, let's do another fucked up movie, and I said, let's watch Maniac.
Yes.
So you and your girlfriend watched it today. No. Who watched it today?
I don't know how to describe this person's connection to me.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, we watched Maniac today.
Okay, see, I don't know what's going on. It's 4 a.m.
Yeah, you don't know.
I get a call out of the blue. It's a text out of the blue. It's like, I'm coming over at 4 a.m. to talk about Maniac. And I'm like, is there a gas leak in my apartment? I was like, one time I was running the Stone Harbor movie theater, and I'm sitting in the box office, and it's summertime. Nobody comes to the movies unless it fucking rains. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I start to hear Billie Jean. Oh. And I go, what the fuck is happening? A van, and this is the same summer that Michael Jackson died.
Oh, okay.
Van pulls up in front of the fucking theater.
Like blasting Billie Jean?
Dude jumps out of the van, dressed as fucking Thriller Michael Jackson, dances, jumps back in the fucking van, and drives away. And I have pictures of it to prove it.
I believe you.
Because I was like... Because other people on the street... Yeah, and I'm like, was there a gas leak in the theater? Or like, I'm dead. Like, that's my last synapses firing. So we're getting off topic. So Maniac,
yes.
1980, directed by William Lustig. Lustig means...
funny in German.
There you go. Also directed Maniac Cop, Maniac Cop 2, Maniac Cop 3.
Which you told me are not connected to Maniac.
No, Uncle Sam, which is not a great movie. So this movie is a mean-spirited, ugly, not really a slasher movie. Not really, no.
Yeah. Especially because we see the perspective from...
Yes.
Zito?
Frank.
Yep. His last name is what I was remembering.
Who's named after Chuck Zito, who was another 80s exploitation filmmaker.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. And and that's the thing that I like about it. And we'll kind of get into the backlash that the movie got and all that. Because I asked you right away, I was like, do you think this movie is sexist?
No.
And that was the thing, is women's groups came down on the movie for being anti-woman. And I don't agree with it. Yeah. Because the violence that he is out there doing, while deplorable, there is a reason behind it. And he's not a sexual murderer. There's no sexual undertone. He's not a Gacy. He's not a Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, someone like that. He's asexual, essentially. And he says in the movie, my mother's the most beautiful woman ever. And all of a sudden he's trying to keep these individuals. So I always saw it more of like the abuse that happened to him as a child. He's stuck in this cycle of abuse, from this point on.
Oh, absolutely. But even that obviously being a good point, but hold on, my brain said
it also starts like Jaws.
It does.
He kills her with the beach, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah. But no, like it not necessarily being anti-woman also, oh my god, where was I going with this? Damn it.
Well, you figure that out.
It's fine.
That's fine. No, I want your perspective on it.
I know.
So, Joe Spinell plays Frank in the movie. Joe Spinell.
Oh, that was it. Just the fact that even though he's the protagonist, it's presented as deplorable. There is no question that what he's doing is fucked up.
Yeah.
You feel gross as a viewer watching him, like, dress the mannequin in the dead girl's clothes and, like, put the scalp on and whatnot, and, like, the scene where he handcuffed himself to the mannequin, especially, I was like, so he is clearly meant to be gross.
Yes.
Not
the fact that he's Joe Spinell, anybody who knows him, he was a character actor who came out of New York. He's in the Godfather movies. He's in Rocky 2.
He is.
Yeah, so I told you the thing, and I didn't write this. Don't get mad at me. In the first Rocky movie,
yes,
Joe Spinell plays Gazzo. Gazzo's Rocky's boss. When Rocky's a leg breaker and all that kind of stuff. And he's taking Adrian out on a date, and the driver for Gazzo goes, "Hey Rocky, take it to the zoo. Retards love the zoo."
Oh god, yeah, I remember that.
In part 2, where does he ask her to marry him?
The zoo.
Even as a kid, I went, movie, can I speak to your supervisor?
Oh, man. I gotta rewatch those movies. I loved them as a kid.
Yeah, oh, no, I do too. I mean, Rocky, the first Rocky movie was the first movie that, like, I saw it because we're from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And Rocky is, like,
we fucking statue's at the bottom.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
But we think, like, we treat him like he's a real person. in Philadelphia.
I got very confused for a split second because I was like, Sylvester Stallone is a real person.
He is a real person, yes.
Yeah, no, you mean Rocky.
Yes.
Okay, right.
But I mean
that just kind of
you play
your point.
You play a character long enough and he really becomes, we see him as that. I want people to just see him as King Shark.
That's
from Suicide Squad.
I adore Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, me too.
I found an old Snapchat memory and I do not remember the context, but I was
He's tiny.
He is.
Yeah.
But like, no, I woke up, I think. I seem freshly awakened.
Michael Jackson got out of the van.
Yes, right. And I said something like, don't talk shit on Sylvester Stallone. He's precious and must be protected. And I don't remember the context
for
this.
Sylvester Stallone was in a porno movie?
I did know that.
A Night at Kinky and Studs, but they changed the title to The Italian Stallion.
Mm-hmm.
The theme song to that was my ringtone at one point for some point. Don't ask me why, I'm a fucking weirdo.
Because it's you.
Yeah. But, so Joe Spinell was his character actor who was in The Godfather. He's actually the second highest paid actor in The Godfather.
Oh, okay.
After Brando, because he was a day player, but he was friends with everyone.
Okay.
So Francis Ford Coppola just kept him around. So he wound up getting paid for the entire production, and he made a fortune. And then when the movie became The Godfather, everyone would start to get residuals, and he would get insane residuals for the movie.
Nice.
He's also, there's a very famous clip of when Spielberg, when he made Jaws, there's the two fishermen in Jaws who are using the wife's roast as a, to catch and then it pulls the thing down and he's like, don't look back, start swimming. That was supposed to be Joe Spinell, but something happened and he couldn't do it. So Spielberg brought him in on the day of the Oscars, when the Oscars were announced, and you okay?
I guess the aspirin hasn't kicked in yet.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. It'll go away.
All right.
Hopefully.
When they're announcing the Oscars, Spielberg didn't get nominated for director. So Joe Spinell realizes it's awkward in the thing, and he jumps up and he's like, who do they think directed the movie? The shark? And he saved Spielberg in that moment from looking silly.
That's great.
And he's just one of those actors. He would just show up and stuff, and it was like a John Saxon or like a William Forrest or someone like that. Like, I genuinely just liked when they would show up in things. He's the bad guy in Star Crash, the Star Wars ripoff that also stars Caroline Munro, who's in this movie.
Yes.
So we'll get way off fucking topic.
We never do that.
Special effects by Tom Savini. All of the other women in the movie are 1980s adult film actresses. The one woman who actually is kind of interesting, the woman who plays the nurse.
Yes.
The short-haired nurse in it. When I was at film school, we had a whole. Are you okay?
It will go away. Okay. It's fine.
That's what you get for coming here at 4:00 in the morning to talk about Maniac.
I was awake I think I went to bed at 7 or 8 a.m. yesterday.
Okay. Oh, all right.
It's fine.
But yeah, so I was up at film school and we had these courses on unions and stuff like that. And this woman came in to do one about medical stuff in film, and it turned out that she was this well-known adult film actress, and she was the one who got like medical stuff unionized for them to help them with, especially in the 80s with the fucking AIDS crisis and all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of interesting to see, to meet her for that, having no idea what she did, and then being like, wait, she was in Maniac. And then people were like, yeah, she was also in a bunch of like The Taming of Rebecca, which is like a fucking horrible porno movie that somebody showed me one time. This girl I knew was like hardcore into I don't know, what do you being embarrassed and stuff like that.
ENF?
ELO? Electric Light
ENF
Orchestra?
is embarrassed naked female.
Okay, yeah, so it was something like that. Like, people have, that's their kink, and she showed me this movie, and I was just like, I don't like this at all. Like, I think my penis retracted in on itself. Like, I'm an innie now, I'm an
innie.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, where we talk? Okay, yeah. So Maniac,
and
Maniac. Yeah, Caroline Munro is in it. Caroline Munro's character was originally going to be played by Daria Niccoli, who was Dario Argento's wife, Asia Argento's mother, but she was working on Argento's movie Inferno at the time. So all the helicopter shots were given to him from Inferno because part of it's in New York. I don't know, any other backstory. Let's get into it. Let's just get into it.
Into the movie itself.
Yeah. I'll let you take the lead.
Okay, yeah, because immediately this movie reminded me of two things, and I did a lot of Googling while I was watching, because I was like, I know I'm going to be talking about this movie, so immediately, obviously, we have the killer who has some sort of obsession with his mother, and women who remind him of her. Although I noticed it was interesting, he killed, in the movie, he killed a blonde as well, the doctor, which I thought that was interesting that he was able to, like, that was fine.
Yeah.
Because at the end he talks about, how, like, his mom always had all these men over. Yeah. And that tied back to the beginning quite neatly, because I was like, okay, well, you know, in the beginning he kills a prostitute, and then he kills someone who's having sex in a car. So it's like, okay, so that makes sense as a trigger. And then, but the doctor one, I kind of missed why he picked her. I think she seemed like an odd one out for me.
Yeah, I think it was also just like a set piece, because that's an intense set piece where they're in the subway.
Yeah.
And like, again, it's one of those ones where like they didn't have permits to shoot any of this stuff.
That was very good for suspense.
And it was 1980, 1981 New York was the most violent year in the history of the fucking, the city. So the movie itself is much like Nightmare on a Damaged Brain, which we should do at some point. This movie it's a far less well-made version. Maniac is actually like a film, but it's that idea of New York at its fucking worst, where it's just a cesspool. But there's something kind of special about that too, because it was like the closest that we get to Sodom and Gomorrah, basically. And it was just, I love... Grindhouse comes from 42nd Street, where all the theaters there were exploitation theaters or porn theaters or wherever. And it was just like, I love scenes where they show New York at that time. And it's just like, I love reading all the marquees. And it's like, this one's got a kung fu movie. And this one's got a, whatever. But yeah, that she was an outlier. The couple in the beginning that's on the beach, they just got done having sex. That's a thing. And then,
it took me a long time to figure out they were on a beach. Like, until we saw the water, I was like, why are they in the middle of the desert?
And why is he going to collect wood? Like, after she just did.
That was, I was, the beginning of the movie did not clear anything up for me.
Because then he wakes up screaming, and you don't quite know, like, did this happen or not happen? But
then it starts making sense when he starts talking about every time you go out, you do this.
Because there's two sides to him. There's the little boy, because even, like, in the very beginning, while the credits are running, you could see the scars on his body from his mother and stuff like that, which I thought was, like, again, when people attack this movie and whatever, and I understand, like, at that time, a lot of movies that I like, exploitation movies, are gross towards women. Like, there's not a movie, like, it's gross that exploitation producers would throw rape in so willy-nilly because it was a way to get tits.
They still fucking do that in, like, cult movies. You get, like, I saw a post about it recently where it was like, you go to watch a cult movie and it's super, like, well done, and then there's just the most graphic fucking rape scene you've ever seen in your life, and it's not no even reason.
And it's not even like you take a French film like Irreversible, which has a just fucking horrible rape scene in it. It's disgusting. But
delightful.
Because that's the crux of the narrative. And when you get to the point where the movie plays back to the moment that something happens, you realize they were wrong in the person that they killed that they thought did this thing. And it's as awful as that scene was, what happens after that is a gut punch, and it makes that scene even more disgusting, which is like a good filmmaker can make you feel those things and not in a, it's not even exploitative. Like, even in this, I don't think it's exploitative to show a woman's body if it's in the point of the narrative.
That's the other thing, is it wasn't gratuitous with the nudity.
No, I mean, it's...
A fair number of movies that you've recommended me are, which, I don't...
Yeah, because the one woman who's in the bathtub, she's nude, but she's in her home by herself in a bathtub masturbating.
I wonder why she's naked. No, but, like... And then you have, like I said, the prostitute at the beginning. Like, she stays weirdly, actually, mostly clothed.
Yeah, because he doesn't want her to get undressed. Because, again, it's not a sexual thing for him. Is because even, like, he can't perform, too.
Right.
You know?
And she's like, oh, it's more than one way to skin a cat. And I kind of got stuck on that line because I was like, I was trying to imagine myself in that scenario. Like, going to hook up with someone, it's, like, not quite working. And, like, that's what I say to fix it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be my choice of words, but
because it's like you should have seen one guy's idea of the ultimate.
I was so ready for that because I was like, oh, okay, we're leading the murder there.
And then the director was the guy William Lustig was the guy at the front desk.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
my favorite room, Al.
Yeah, and would you like the color TV? You know, it's like
that was funny.
But it's like, again, I can't even imagine going into a place like that. Even to film, I'm just like, oh my god, like get HPV just looking at it. You know? God. But yeah, so he's going. He's going out. Yeah, go ahead.
Was obviously that 1980 is coming off of like the big serial killer boom in the 70s, and you had a fair number of almost said characters, it's late, of serial killers who had that sort of motivation. Like you mentioned Ted Bundy earlier, even though that was a sexual thing. Yeah. And then you had Ed Kemper, who's one of my favorites personally. But, you have, like, you just come off of all these serial killers who, had that connection and that motivation of maternal abuse, especially with Kemper. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
There's a reason that I like him so much. But
fucking massive. Did you ever see like
he's huge.
Because even in Mindhunter, when they had that scene where he has the panic attack, I'm like, it's one of those things where I put myself in that moment and I'm just like, oh my god.
That show is so fucking good.
Yeah, it sucks that we'll never get a third season. Because season 2 starts out first off with my favorite Roxy Music song, which is In Every House a Heartache. But that song is fucking amazing because I think I played that for you, where it's like you think it's about something and it turns out to be a fucking sex doll, you know?
Yes, I do remember.
Great fucking song. And then like the son like crucifies that kid. It's like it's a fucked up show.
It is, but so good.
But again, like a lot of this stuff is Frank in this movie fits a profile.
Yes. Sorry, that was where I was. That's where I was going. Yeah. And then it was also interesting because it's now in the middle of 2 of my interests, which is true crime and then Hannibal. Yeah. I mentioned Hannibal and Cannibal Ferox, and I get to talk about it more here. Fucking Red Dragon, right? Yes. You have. And
do you know why the movie came out as Manhunter first?
I used to know.
De Laurentiis thought that people would think it was a kung fu movie.
Really?
So they changed the title.
Maybe I thought it was something else then.
That was like when Black Christmas, Bob Clark's Black Christmas came out. They called it something different because they didn't want people to think that it was a black movie. You know?
It's a little bit funny. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. Both of those are funny. Because, I mean, it's definitely not a kung fu movie.
No, not at all.
I keep forgetting it is a movie because I read the books first. Not to be like, I read the books, but like, I had my Hannibal obsession.
I prefer Manhunter to Red Dragon.
That's fair.
Yeah. Just because I understand, like, things about it, but I prefer, and again, Tom Noonan playing the Tooth Fairy, I think is way better. Like, I just, that whole and Tom Noonan's amazing. He's Frankenstein's monster in Monster Squad, and the hatchet guy in Last Action Hero and all that.
I have an extremely unpopular Hannibal opinion. More so than that, I love Hannibal Rising. It is actually my favorite.
Never seen it.
The movie is very good too. But
I like the book.
The book is so good, and I'm so pissed because my copy I bought secondhand, and I don't like when people write on books or like mess them up. Like I'm a bookmark person, like, and some motherfucker had this book, and I don't know why it happened the way it did. It seemed like her uncle gifted it to her, and she read it. And she didn't like it. And she felt the need on page 100 to fill the margins with pen talking about how much she fucking hated this book.
To be fair, anytime I'm in a hotel, I always sign the first page of the Bible, Jesus.
Okay, that's
It's an autographed copy. Prove it wasn't him.
That was the perfect perfect joke to break that build up that I was getting worked.
But I haven't seen the movie. I remember when we had it. He just died.
He did.
Yeah.
I just found out about that. Yes. Oh right, because we were talking about that in the server.
Yes. Yep.
I forgot about that. But anyway, join the Discord or get to experience more of both
this
of
nonsense.
us.
Yeah. And a bunch of other cool, weird people too.
No, that's true. There's some really
showing
cool people
pictures of their cats and
lots of pet pictures
and
the giraffes.
Japanese anime.
Come send us pictures of your cats.
So where were we? So the Red Dragon.
So Red Dragon. Yeah, I noticed so many similarities with him and the Tooth Fairy. Particularly the parallel of him killing women, just killing people in general. Because they also killed a bunch of dudes, but him killing while simultaneously trying to carry on this normal human interaction with
Caroline Monroe's character,
her, whatever the fuck her character's name was.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
I liked, and obviously, and right, this is one thing I googled where Red Dragon was written in 1981. So I was like, is Thomas Harris a MANIAC fan? Maybe, perhaps that would be interesting.
Could be.
Because they even have the similar. Well, okay, obviously for Red Dragon, it was more about like she was blind, so she didn't see his facial defect that he was like overly insecure about. But like you still had
fucked up in. You've seen Manhunter, right?
I think so.
Where he's watching on mute the footage of the family, and she's going down on him, and just being like, "This is fucking crazy." Because I remember Silence of the Lambs came out in 91. My grandfather was a sergeant of police in my hometown and very much into cop movies and all this kind of stuff. And I was saddled with him for the day, and he took me to see Silence of the Lambs.
Oh my god.
And like, I liked the movie and all, but when you get to the Buffalo Bill dance scene, I had never seen anything like that before. Like, I honestly, like, that scene left an impact on me more than anything, mostly because my brain was trying to process that. I had
there's no reference
there's no point of reference to it, So, that scene has always been something in my mind of, like, it's not scary, it's not, whatever. It's become a joke, but it, like, because Clerks 2 did it and all that, but it was just one of those things that, like, stuck in my mind so much that, like, I thought about it for a long time after,
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. We're way off.
No, we're so off topic. I was just, I was excited when I noticed the parallels because, then you have the fact that she works in a fucking dark room.
Yeah.
And then later he snaps on her, not meaning to, but like he lets out some of that part of him that's been trying to hide, and she like fucking dips reasonably. But I liked that was a parallel, that's like beat for beat how it goes with the Tooth Fairy, and it was just very cool.
It's also you ever see Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer?
I don't think I have, actually.
Very good movie. The guy who plays Yondu in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies plays
Michael Rooker.
Yeah, Michael Rooker plays this serial killer. I think he's based on a real person. Tom Toes is in it as well, but it's a really fucked up movie about these guys who were like thrill killers, and the movie is very shot like a documentary. So it's even more uncomfortable.
I like that.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. That's a dark, like this.
You probably recommended it.
Yeah, that's a very dark movie. But again, it's this person who has a job and they wear the mask of sanity, and that because the second one is called Henry II, Mask of Sanity.
Right.
But and that's not as good. But someone who tries to pass as a person, but even in the scene where he's at the photo shoot and he kind of grips the bear and it's starting to slip out.
Yeah.
And again, because I'm a fucking weirdo, that song "Going to a Showdown" also was my ringtone at one point.
That got stuck in my head.
Yeah.
I was like, that's in my head now.
Yep.
But yeah, it was, and it's interesting because even actually from the beginning, he's not even truly able to keep that from her, because when they're talking about pictures, and she's like, I just like making my subjects look beautiful. And he's like, you're trying to preserve them. And she's like, but you can never truly possess a person. First of all, as someone with terrible memory and who's obsessed with like trying to document my own life, huge hit for me on that conversation because, oh boy. But I am very much like, like I said, I have a terrible memory. I have to like keep everything. And anytime anything disappears, like I get really freaked out because it's gone.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to disappear from my brain too if it hasn't already.
There's an old Native American proverb that says something exists only as long as the last person who remembers it.
Yep, I think about that a lot.
I do too. And the first time I ever heard that was in an episode of The X-Files, Anasazi. That's the line in the beginning of it. And that line like has always been just jammed in my gray matter.
That concept was on my mind on the way here, actually.
Oh, really?
Because a song came on that reminded me of Scream, and I was like, I started remembering some of the stuff that we had done while I was out there, and I was like, I am the only one with this memory now, and if it goes away, it's gone forever. When I die, this memory's gone forever. And then the song changed, and I was fine.
Oh. No, I was telling you, I've just been abusing myself recently of just listening to sad songs that remind me of people and just making myself cry. Like I went to a friend of mine's house, and her husband is a neurosurgeon, and we were just hanging out and talking and stuff like that, and she was just like, I don't know why you do this to yourself. And I'm like explaining, I'm like, oh, this song, and it's weird songs too, like fucking, just it's that sense memory thing. Like again, this movie Maniac, Kevin, who I did the Ghost House review with, he and I rented this movie in the 6th grade. Because we thought that the cover was really cool of him holding the scalp. He's got the big fucking boner in his pants,
Yeah.
That's probably also what a lot of people got mad at, because people were going and like painting over, women's groups were like painting over the posters. But I remember us watching this movie, and I can still, when I was watching it the other night before we were going to review it, just to kind of refresh my mind, that sense memory kicked in where I remembered the smell of his basement and all this shit. And it's like, wow, it's weird. Yeah. Music and movies and stuff like that snaps you right back to a place and a time, the other night there's a song by Adamant. Do you know who Adamant is? He was kind of a big deal in the 80s. He used to dress like he would wear Native American war paint, but he would dress like a pirate.
I need to see this.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so he was kind of like and Carolyn Monroe is in the one music video who's in this movie. It all comes together.
Yeah. See, we are on topic.
Yeah, she's in the video is don't drink, don't smoke. What do you do? Certain innuendos follow. But so he became kind of a joke.
That guy. Yes. I've seen this guy before. I've never listened to him.
So so that's where he looked like he was like one of the fucking Lost Boys in Hook,
Yeah.
But so he was kind of a joke in the 80s and stuff like that. And then in the 90s, 1994, he put out this like more contemporary thing, and he's got this one song on there called Wonderful, and that song reminds me of someone so much that it hurts, So
mine was a KMFDM song.
Or like Nina Simone's cover of Suzanne, which was a Leonard Cohen song. That reminds me so much of a person that I can smell their perfume. It's weird, it's fucking weird. I want to eventually do like an entire review just talking about music and stuff like that. But then I'm like, but you're way younger than me.
That's true.
So our references would be like way off.
They're going to be a little off.
I mean, again, you're a big Rammstein fan. I discovered Rammstein in 1997 when Lost Highway came out because I was trying.
That was when their second album released also. 2 months after I was born.
That's right. I'm old as fuck. But it's like one of those things where like I wanted to be like a filmmaker. I wanted to be, a connoisseur, a film curator, my film. And I remember just forcing my parents to like take me to that movie, and then hearing Du Hast for the first time, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then finding that they were on the soundtrack, and then also Marilyn Manson was on the soundtrack.
Trent was as well, right? Trent
Perfect
Reznor?
Drug, yeah. Yep.
Oh, I hate that music video.
I love that music video.
Okay, I love the music video. He needs to. The facial hair was bad. We've talked about this.
Yes, we have talked about that. Yeah, there's time periods of people like I like Trent Reznor way more back when he was on heroin.
Same. And I feel really bad because I love that he is clean. I love that he's happy. I love that his wife is obscenely hot.
Fucking making music for Pixar. Yeah. Like, did you ever think the dude who wrote I Want to Fuck You Like an Animal would be writing music for Pixar?
94 era Trent Reznor is like my ideal man.
Downward Spiral.
My fucking God, that man.
Sam Goody in the mall, and they had that little sticker about parental advisory, and we asked a guy in the food court to go buy the album for us. So I gave him money, and because I got really into like industrial music at that point because I was angry. Thankfully, I'm not angry anymore. Oh yeah, I'm totally fine.
Same.
So so MANIAC. So
we'll get through this movie
eventually. We'll get through this.
It's good too. This isn't even like our Morbius review where we didn't want to talk about anything.
No, it just opens so many other things, you know?
Oh, so it's so late at night.
It is so, well, actually, it's so early in the morning now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's almost 5.
There you go.
Wait, we've been filming for like an hour. Oh, no. Ooh, oh, no.
Whoa, we're good. It's not going to fall. My very professional setup that we have here. So I guess we'll talk about the big scenes.
Right.
All right?
The shotgun.
The shotgun.
To the fucking head.
Is amazing. Is one of the best. In horror in movies in general, one of the most crowd-pleasing effects that you could ever pull off is a head explosion.
Yeah.
We're going fucking...
Scanners.
We'll go Scanners.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go Chopping Mall.
Mm-hmm.
The Beyond, Lucio Fulci's The Beyond has an amazing head explosion. But this one is like the fucking Rolls Royce of head explosions. So Tom Savini, the special effects guy, plays Disco Boy in it, and he has a line in this movie that I'm such a fucking loser. I'd love to use this line at some point.
What is it?
Where he goes, "Will you meet me somewhere?"
Oh, that one! I made so much fun of that. Oh my!
And she's like, "Where?" And he goes,
"The back seat." I actually, it's so funny you say that because I literally stopped and made fun of that line with my friend.
Yeah. It's great. I fucking love it. So they're in the back seat and they're making out and stuff like that, and then she sees Frank on the side of the window, which is fucking a creepy scene. A very creepy scene. And then she's like, I want to go. They get back in the car. He turns the headlights on. Frank jumps on the hood of the car with a shotgun and fucking explodes this dude's head. All right?
The jump on its own was already like, okay. Yeah. And then the fucking head explodes and you're like, oh.
And it looks anatomically correct.
It does.
You know, and that was the thing, because unfortunately in the heady days of the internet, I saw things that I can never unsee.
I've even referenced in Camel Fair, because like, I watch gore. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of squashed heads and explosions and whatnot. It was a little uniform in color for that, but I mean, it was pretty good.
And then the funny thing about that I was telling you when you got here was they didn't have a permit to shoot that scene. So essentially, once the scene was shot, one person on the crew took the shotgun somewhere and dumped it, and then so they were separate, and then they rolled the car into the river and got the fuck out of there. So I said, at some point, someone is going to find a headless corpse in a car in that river and be like, what the fuck happened here?
Like open up an investigation, then it's just fucking styrofoam or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, but because a lot of stuff that he used was out of his kit because he had just come from Friday the 13th, and this movie didn't have a lot of money, so they were just putting things together. Even Mrs. Voorhees' headless corpse. Yeah. So
I liked that ending quite a bit.
Oh, me too, because it's also one of those weird fucking especially the ending where he opens his eyes left very open ended.
I like that too.
But the idea, the crux of this movie is this fucking dude is out there killing women, and when he's home, we were talking about his apartment, is very Giallo inspired. Very, you can tell that there's a European influence on this movie because his apartment is very claustrophobic, red, the mannequins and stuff like that, and it has a very Giallo vibe to it. So he's out there doing this, and this woman in the park takes his picture, and he doesn't like that, but he's also drawn to this woman in a way, and the two of them strike up a friendship, and they go to Clams Casino in New Jersey, which was a real place because I looked it up because we used to be obsessed with this movie. In fact, later on in the movie when he says read anew, so in the 90s on regular TV, there used to be all these commercials for off Broadway stage performance. There was always like black churches would put on stuff, and they always had like a funny a quote at the end that always used to make us laugh. So Kevin and I used to have ideas where we'd watch bad movies, and then we'd come up with a musical, and then my thing at the end was read anew, you'd love it.
I like that a lot.
But we wrote like a whole fucking song about MANIAC.
Really? Oh my god, that's great.
Can you believe I didn't get laid till I was 22? Shocking, right? Shocking. So he meets Rita, who's this model, and she reminds him right away of his mother, and he takes her necklace, and then
the one that her mother gave
her,
which
exactly,
also kind of
weaves together.
Thread there.
Then he takes it to her house, which she doesn't think is weird.
No, because at first it's like, oh, neat, thanks. I didn't want to lose this, obviously.
But then he stops the door from locking, and then he comes in and kills her. And then that's kind of where he's completely unglued at this point.
I liked her murder a lot.
No, I did too. Yeah. And he takes Caroline Munro's character out one night, and they go to his mother's grave, and that's where he just breaks.
Fucking snaps.
Yeah. But I also like when the fucking hands come out of the grave.
Oh my god! I literally started yelling. I was like, "Hold up!"
Because it's part of his psyche. Again, there's this abuse, and I just talked about
right, because he had just had that moment of like. She was like, "Mommy needs to punish you."
Yeah, yep.
Which I sure hope people don't take that out of context.
Punish me, Mommy. Clip that. That's winding up on Reddit.
I don't even remember what I was saying. Where it's like, Mommy needs to punish you. You've done these bad things and whatnot. And then that's when she bursts out of the fucking grave.
Because he can no longer, he can't keep it together anymore. Yeah. There's the two sides of him.
Can't keep it buried, literally.
Yes, exactly. And I like that from that point on, there is only one person. There's only one... I don't want to say...
he isn't able to put that mask back
because,
on,
again, it's like, I don't want to say two identities, because that's not how it works.
That was not DID.
No, exactly. But it's like, there is clearly two things there. There is the child that was abused. Yeah. And even he says earlier in the movie, he's like, you can't go out. He's like, it's crazy. And he goes, I didn't mean that. So he's like fucking Smeagol. He's constantly at war.
Smeagol, I would argue, is DID. But we can go on. Well, we can go on for that topic another time.
We'll have potatoes.
Yes.
Yeah. So we should do Lord of the Rings at some point, so you could talk for 2.5 hours, and I'll just sit here quiet. I leave.
You leave. I don't notice. I just eventually turn to you, and you slide back in the seat, and you're like, yeah.
I'm gonna get let me fix this.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Oh no!
Wait, it's the other way.
Oh no, it's the other way. Hold on. All right, we're good.
Oh my God.
We're good.
I'm gonna get a tripod. Okay.
We're good. I'm right here.
Swear to God.
Oh no, I don't want to sexually harass you.
Oh right, of course. No, I said in the Discord. You can make whatever joke you want. You're allowed.
Okay. I was gonna get a cardboard cutout.
Oh yes,
of myself and just put it here, and you just fucking talk.
Just talk about Lord of the Rings.
My phone died 20 minutes ago, but you're just still going. So I don't have a tripod or ring lights or anything like that, so I have a 35mm film can and then 2 scented candles and then my phone on top of that. There's a little look behind the scenes for you
Which
all.
Is not a problem when you're doing it normally, but I am very animated. My legs move, my arms move.
You're Italian.
I am Italian. Yeah. I do not look it in any way, shape, or form, but I am half Sicilian. You
ever see True Romance?
No.
Oh.
That doesn't... Does that sound like a movie I'd watch?
Yes, it should be a movie you watch. Yeah. It was written by Quentin Tarantino. Oh. And but there's Christopher Walken is the head of the Sicilian mob, and Dennis Hopper is Christian Slater's dad, and he doesn't want them to find him because they took this drug money that they didn't know was there. And Dennis Hopper tells a story about how the Sicilians got dark hair and dark eyes because of the Moors conquering Sicily.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And a lot of Italians that I know in my real life are very racist. And they don't like that version of the story. So watch that scene. You'll know what I'm talking about.
I've definitely told you also that my grandfather was like 100% mafia. Like he was totally, which is so funny because to me he was like just this sweet old man. Mm-hmm. Like literally my favorite grandparent. Don't tell the one remaining one. But but then like dad was like, oh yeah, no, he was like totally mafia. He just didn't want to get me involved in it. And I was like, I mean, reasonable.
The Bala Theater. So when I had the Wayne, the owner of the Wayne also had the Narbeth, the Bala, and the Bala Theater was at one point an adult film theater. And apparently that's where the Philly mob used to shake guys down, and when the Bala closed down, they had someone who was like a historian and stuff like that, and they were telling me some fucking horror stories about shit that happened down there, and that's why everybody always talked about that theater being haunted. So
right, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, Maniac.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, so he snaps at this point, and we totally glossed over the fact that he's been scalping women.
I guess we have glossed over that. I did not like his method of scalping. I feel like it was inefficient. But that is my own.
You would do it more like Aldo Rain and Inglourious Bastards?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I didn't like the cut across the forehead. It was not aesthetically pleasing to me. It's not actually how wigs look.
But it was also kind of interesting how they did it, though, is because they didn't have a lot of money. They like soaked the actress's hair and then built like a false thing for it, and then the scalpel itself had a blood tube, so as he was cutting it, so it was interesting.
And that's what I was like, I'm not really gonna shit on it because I know it was like no budget,
but I also like the first
time
he kills the prostitute that we see, and he's coming home and he's got a trash bag with a mannequin in it.
Oh yeah, and then she's like Christmas shopping bag, and he's like, I fucking died laughing.
It was New York. People learned how to look the other way.
Right? Oh my god.
So so he's scalping women, and he's fucking
and putting them on the
mannequins. He's like,
oh my god, when he's hammering it in, that was hysterical. Because the first couple times you just see him place it, and in my head I'm like, that doesn't seem very.
But he's also wearing like Elton John glasses and a fucking bathrobe when he does it. And another point, he's wearing like a baseball cap that has like horns, and he has like a fake laser gun.
I was very thrown off by his outfits.
But I guess it's because he's a child still.
Yeah.
You know, and that violence kind of left him in a state of arrested development, you know? So he goes home after he snaps and Caroline Monroe runs away, and he goes back to his apartment, and all the mannequins that he has around his apartment are now the women.
Yeah, and he like perceives them as having come alive and are the women.
And they're all scalped and shit like that, and then they converge on him and rip his head off.
That fucking... I loved that scene so much. Because that was just kind of awesome, like, in general. And it kind of just, like... I don't know, it felt correct in the message of, like, the cycle of abuse and whatnot. But that aside, all the deep, like, actual brain part of that aside, the fucking crack that it made coming off of his neck. Yep.
And then you see Mrs. Voorhees' headless torso from Friday the 13th pop up because they had it, whatever, you know. So so then the cops finally get there,
and he appears dead, obviously with his head still attached.
It was all in his
But he is bloody though, which like, you know, because the women like lop off, or I don't know if they stab him in the stomach. But he is all bloody and like
so
all
it's
flopped
in
out on his bed.
Perception that what's that called with like. Was it not?
It's not seppuku.
Sudoku. I was gonna. Sudoku is the.
Seppuku is Sudoku is the 9x9.
That's it.
But no, seppuku. But that is a self-inflicted.
But that's what his thing. To him, it's self-inflicted.
But he didn't think it was self-inflicted. But yes, it would essentially. Yes. In reality it was, be, but But then you have the cops are in there, and then his eye opens. And that's how the movie ends. They're like, well, guess this bitch dead. I don't remember if they said anything, but you know, the body language is like, all right, shit.
And there was there was going to be a sequel, sort of, but he was going to be a different character. He got so much hate from this. And had to keep going on talk shows and talking about this is stuff that was ripped from the headlines, like whatever. So the sequel was going to be called Mr. Robbie. And Mr. Robbie, he was going to be like a Mr. Rogers type of thing, and he would get letters from children who were abused, and then he would go out in clown makeup at night and murder the family members, or like the people who abused them. So what had happened was Joe Spinell. Joe Spinell had a addictive personality. He liked to have the women. He liked to have the drugs. He liked to have all kinds of vices. So Maniac did so well so fast that he started getting his money in, and he used it poorly. So eventually what happened to him was he was a hemophiliac. He fell in the shower and he bled to death. But when the cops went to his house, he still had his head from Maniac, and the cops were like, what the fuck?
What did we walk into? It's like, oh no, he's just in the shower.
Yeah, so he passed away in like the late 80s. But this movie is fascinating.
It is.
It's not, I mean, yes, it's an ugly movie and it deals with deplorable shit, like I said, like in Tusk, you know, but there's enough shade of gray there for you to understand the you know, at least if you were going to build a profile of someone, you understand where it came from, you know. I thought the effects were well done. I thought it was well acted considering it was a lot of like adult film actresses of the 1980s and stuff like that. I thought the score was really good. I thought the movie
I liked the score a lot.
Yeah, and a Goblin was originally supposed to do the score, but again, the Argento movie ran long, so they couldn't do it. No, I think this movie is like, you know, of all the... In the wake of Halloween, Friday the 13th, that kind of stuff, those movies are killing teenagers, and it's fun. Yeah. You know, and all that kind of stuff.
This was like I said earlier, you felt gross watching it.
Yes.
You felt dirty watching it specifically.
And there was that's the idea of, you know, this, The Prowler, Nightmare on a Damaged Brain. There were these movies that have a thin membrane of the slasher genre, but are not that. No. There's something completely different. There's something more psychological to it. I think
that's why I like this a lot more, because I do like slashers, obviously. Because, hey, killing, and we're fun, and it's, you know, it's a good time and whatnot. We're having fun. And, but, like, I definitely am drawn to psychological things. Yeah. I've talked about a couple of my favorite video games with you, and, like, they're all, like, psychological in some way.
Did you know there was a remake?
Of?
Maniac.
I did not.
Starring...
Oh, wait, Elijah Wood. Yeah, because I originally looked it up, and I was like... It was actually funny, because, like, my friend pulled it up and was like, oh, Elijah Wood? And I'm like, no. But I remember thinking that, no.
And the entire movie is first person.
Oh.
So it's from the killer's perspective. So, the hell was that?
That was someone laughing.
Yeah.
At 5 o'clock in the morning outside your apartment.
That's great. Well, you know, honestly, if you're going to kill me, make it quick, you know?
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you used to say that. You trust that I would make it quick for you.
Mm-hmm. Because of all the sexual harassment.
Right, of course.
When you were I'm
getting revenge. When you
were my employee at the Water Tower Cinema. Yeah. You know, that guy was right to them, and you know. So it's all, the only time you see Elijah Wood is in reflections of stuff, which I thought was really well.
Really cool.
The movie, really good until the ending. It goes one step too far and goes beyond its logical closure point.
Oh, right, I remember you talking about that.
I love the idea of being in the shoes of the killer.
I do too.
That's a cool idea. And again, it's not the first time it had ever been done. You want to go, we're going to go Halloween when you're looking through the eyes. You go.
But I mean, even one of my favorite video games that I was just talking about. I thought I saw you get up.
Yeah, it's the cat.
Is like you are playing from the perspective of, like, you come in not knowing anything and you slowly realize that you are playing an abusive person who, like, drove your wife to suicide, basically. And, like, so I like that, the, like, from the perspective of the person.
There's something about voyeurism that's very interesting. But if you want to go, like, okay, Halloween... but then you go before that, Black Friday, which is not Black Christmas, not a black movie. But even before that, there's a movie called Peeping Tom, which is technically the first movie to use that. And the movie was so dark for the British film community that, like, it ruined that dude's career. But years later, the movie was honored as, like, a fucking... It's like Todd Browning with Freaks. You know, he did Dracula and did all that kind of stuff, but then he goes, I'm going to make this movie at MGM, and it's going to use real freaks. Yeah. Like, real circus freaks. Yeah. And it was so, like, people in the 1930s were like, the fuck is this? So it ruined that dude's career, but then years later, the movie is looked at as, like, like, this is real. Like, these people are... And that movie, especially when you get to the ending where you realize, like, again, what they do to the woman is horrible, but what she does to them, dehumanizing these people who are already seen by society as dehumanized, she's the freak at the end, which I thought was fantastic, you know? And So we've been fucking all over the place.
All over the place.
So yeah, Maniac is a fantastic film.
It is very good.
And
I'm gonna have to watch the remake too.
Yeah, no, and the remake, the redheaded girl who's he goes on the date with, she does that thing that Melissa does, which is like that aerial like ribbon.
Oh yeah, that stuff is so cool.
That redheaded actress model follows me on Twitter and Instagram, and nice. I didn't know what I knew her from. I was like, wait,
why are you looking
that's familiar? The pixie topless girl in the Maniac remake. Oh so, God. All right, well, it's 5 a.m.
It is.
Get the fuck out of my house. Hold on, let me show them real quick. This is my setup.
Oh, yeah.